The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guests and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of S4, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast or reproduction of this broadcast or podcast without express written consent of S4 is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised.
Because we don't understand how life formed, it is difficult to estimate this probability. The likelihood of a complex molecule like DNA being created by random collisions of atoms in a primordial ocean is fantastically small. In an infinite universe, it would happen in some places, but they would be very far apart. If we want to find advanced intelligent life, our best bet is to listen for radio signals.
Look up to the stars and the forests that surround. Do you see them? Do you hear them? Are they there? SpacedOutRadio.com presents S4 with Forest Moon Paranormal's Eric Cooper and friends. Also, take the time to join the Forest Moon Paranormal Facebook group.
I knew I should have made a left turn at Albuquerque.
Conspiracy, Area 51, Dogman, Ghosts, Cover-Ups, UFOs. The hidden will reveal itself.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go live on S4 with Eric Cooper.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to S4 with Eric Cooper, broadcasting live from the beautiful mountains of Concrete, Washington. Tonight, we're having our monthly team show, where our panel will be members of the Forest Paranormal team. Tonight on our panel, we have Eric Markham, our Forest Moon Paranormal Scientist, R. Keith Andrews, astrologer and alien specialist for Forest Moon Paranormal, Donna Cunningham on our Astral team, Bonnie Smith on our Astral team, Chris Dodge on our Aftercare team, myself, Corey Reese, and your host, Forest Moon Paranormal's own, Mr. Eric Cooper.
Hey, good evening, S4ians. Yes, coming to you live from the... let's see, I'm looking outside. It's kind of rainy, and it doesn't know if it wants to snow or what the heck it wants to do. So, yeah, there's been a lot going on. We actually haven't had the team show since about November because, well, I believe in December we were actually canceled our show because it was close to Christmas. So we have like 2 months to catch up on, and, oh my God, I don't even... it's crazy because we deal with like 5 cases a day, and that's not an exaggeration. So it gets crazy around here because, yeah. So I got to give a shout out to the country of Mauritius, which I had to look up Mauritius to see where it was, and it's off the coast of Madagascar, I believe it is. So thank you for listening. It's awesome. Also, our youngest team member as of today is Haley, and she will be our child peer counselor, I guess you could say. She's been through a lot of paranormal. She will be the one that will talk on the phone with kids involved with the paranormal that need help, basically just as an ear. She'll be boots on ground as far as once we get the site safe, then she'll come in and talk to kids that are involved. And she'll be an asset, along with our child psychologist on the team we have now for aftercare, and our psychiatrist, and our psychologist. So, without further notice, how's the team doing tonight?
Just great on my end. How about you?
Good, fantastic.
Good here.
Yeah.
Well, there was a solid response, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know, right?
So the way things are going to work with our follow-up care aftercare team is once Astral's done with the client, as far as getting these scenes safe and things passed over, combated, whatnot, then that's where the follow-up care team, aftercare team comes in. We have a psych team on that, in that aspect, and they're there for the education. They're there to answer questions about the paranormal. They're there to assist questions with grounding, shielding, how to properly smudge your home, things of that nature. I'm going to start with Chris tonight. Chris got her feet wet with a couple of different cases. I know she had fun. Markham, I know, had his first experience with interacting with a client, had his eyes widely opened, watching the reaction of the client versus what the Astral team was doing. So we're going to start with Chris. How are you liking the aftercare team?
I love it. I really do. It's just the aspect of working with somebody and calming them down and being there, like you said, to answer questions, and it's, to me, I like it. That's right where I want to stay. You know. Good. And I know you were nervous at first, but are things smoothing out for you? I was really nervous in my own experience, but to help somebody else is way different. Yeah, it's easier to help somebody else than to deal with your own problem. But yeah, and the response and be able to see the client, hear the relief in the tone of the voice, give information to them, and they even give you relief with that. It's priceless. You know, I can honestly say that it's priceless to hear the actual relief that they're getting.
Okay, Markham, you with us, Markham?
He had to, I think, step away for a minute. He's having a bit of an issue with the machine. So I think he'll let me know when he gets back into the mix. Yeah, the aftercare team is for those who have not heard of that before. That's something that Cooper came up with to do a couple of things. One is that we wanted to make sure that the clients were getting, you know, the aftercare that they needed, as well as number two, at the same time, making sure that we didn't completely burn our Astral team out, because up to that point they had been doing all of the aftercare, trying to make sure that clients were cared for and were able to kind of calm down, relax, and you know, have life start to try to get back to whatever, you know, would be considered normal for them. So it's been it's new. We're still working out some of the protocols for it, but I think it's a really good thing that will give the Astral team a chance to relax a little bit in between cases. I don't know how much, but at least a little bit, and make sure that
You're funny.
Yeah, I know.
Relax.
I know it. Yeah, and at least make sure that we get the correct aftercare to the clients that are needed, which will include education as well as psychological help if need be. So.
Exactly, and that's why we have a psychiatrist. And in fact, our psychiatrist will be at Paracon talking about psychology and the paranormal. So definitely a needed asset on that regard. So let's backtrack into December. So I know Bonnie brought in statistics as far as the caseload and some of the hot spots that we worked on, and some of the numbers as far as were we dealing with more spirits, were we dealing more with the alien abduction side, that kind of thing.
Yeah. We had about 14 states that I went in. Some of them we went in multiple times, like, Washington State was one of our hot spots, usually is, because we did boots on the ground for you guys too, Mostly it just seems like if you split the U.S. in the middle, go to your east, and we had a lot more cases on that side. But we did have our Washington and Oregon are the two, on the West Coast that we had the most. Besides that, we had Virginia, we had California, Tennessee, Vermont, Louisiana, Michigan, Alaska, Florida, a couple cases there. And out of the country, we went to about 5 different countries. And Australia being our number one, shout out to Australia. We went about 4 times here to our show. And we had a lot of entities, mostly this time, since I was on here, like entities and spirits. But we also have had one demon case. And we have had a couple alien abductions, but they were more recent, I think, that I worked on. They're more recent ones that were going on. We had some increase in Ouija board cases, things being brought in and causing problems from the Ouija boards. And that was in the U.S. and also across the lake. So we've had quite a bit going on, Several curses going on.
Yeah, and that's something we need to look at. Is a lot of folks think paranormal, we only deal with hauntings and abductions and whatnot, but no, we actually break curses and things of that nature as well. If it's magical or paranormal, our team is on it. Go into a basic curse, if you could. How do we handle curse cases?
Most of the time we go in and we shield up our clients, and then we go to tracing back where the curse actually began. And we start at that point. We find out if it's generational or what it may be, and we break it at that point and do all the protections that we possibly can, or remove anything that was brought forward from that first time.
Mm-hmm. And I know recently we also had a gypsy curse that we had to deal with. Now, what's unique about gypsy curses, if you look at history, the original gypsies originated in the Middle East. So anytime you're looking at a gypsy curse, you got to consider the possibility of jinn involvement.
Right.
So, let's see. Is Markham back yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, I want to get Markham in here. So Donna.
Yes.
I know you and Bonnie work hand in hand. Do you have any individual cases that you worked on that you want to discuss?
Mostly we just, I've helped a few people to clear their energy and make sure that they're grounded well. nothing real drastic there. Anything that's too intense, Bonnie and I are always a team on it. We're always together and work hand in hand. We're just better that way.
Mm-hmm.
Peanut butter and
And just say again.
jelly. Peanut butter and jelly, that's us. We go together.
Now, why did I have that same conversation a little earlier with somebody else?
Reading your mind.
So do we see a difference between countries as far as cases go?
Yes, I have to say that paranormal is different in different countries. You're dealing with a whole different aspect of things sometimes. What you're seeing is not what you're nothing like what you're seeing in the U.S., like in Australia or even Mauritius, if that's how it's pronounced. It's a whole different world when you go to another place, because I think they all have their sets of demons and different kinds of things and curses and witchcraft or whatever is going on that might be causing it. You know, spirits are the easy part, really, of what we do. It's the other things, figuring them out.
Yeah, it seems to be a lot different based in different countries. So there's a lot of difference from one place to another. The cultures definitely form a lot of what you're dealing with.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It seems like that with different cultural aspects of things, that would probably be the biggest contributor to different paranormal experiences, I would think.
Yeah, it is.
Agreed, because and we'll go into Jen here with Keith momentarily, but I know what some perceive as a demon is different here than it is in, say, the Middle East or even some of the European countries. Do you want to go into Jen real quick, Keith?
Well, the jinn, for the I don't have a problem with that at all. Thanks very much. The jinn themselves, number one, base themselves out of the air, literally out of the elemental plane of air, which makes them really hard to pin down. On the whole, they're actually not as bad as you might think, but where they get testy is if whoever they're dealing with is creating a problem quite literally with the planet, they will get a lot more volatile than if the person is just causing a problem for another human. For instance, if the person involved is doing things like property damage or environmental damage, as well as causing a problem for for an individual person, they're much more inclined to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
So they're more of an earthly guardian then.
Essentially, yes. With the neat little twist that they'll go right into the cell superstructure of the human to plant the curse there, which is why you guys have such a problem getting it out.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see it now.
Yeah. And that's why we have a team show, because we learn as a team as well as educate the public and the listeners. So could you go into a basic description of a jinn?
Well, ironically, for the most part, they tend to manifest they manifest looking relatively human. They do tend to take on a bluish-white color, but not translucent. More smoky in nature, if you will. Kind of like if you cover somebody in baby powder.
Mm-hmm.
Right. More often than not, they do look Eastern in configuration or Middle Eastern in configuration. As far as their chosen physical appearance goes. But the reason they can shapeshift is because they don't actually have a physical form. This is why they can get in and out of places so quick.
Now,
can they?
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I had also heard that certain practices can actually form a curse to where they actually send a jinn to somebody to create havoc for them. Is that correct?
It is correct. It's the side effect that they don't tell you about. You see, if you force a jinn to go and do something against their will, sure, they'll go do it. But they will come back to cause an even bigger problem for you. They hold a grudge better than humans do.
So, call it karma.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, only she had too many cups of coffee.
It makes total sense. Especially on the Guardian side.
Oh, yeah. And more often than not, if you see a jinn, they will appear to not have legs.
I'm now tripping, saying, sounds like I'm doing a jinn's curse is like trying to untangle a fishing line, all bird nested up.
Yeah, essentially. But you got to add one small little detail. Add a lot of heat so it sticks to itself.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Like a sticky fishing line.
Yes. You know that the crazy, what is it called? Crazy string or something to that effect. You know,
yeah.
Yeah.
You remember that
string.
stuff? Yeah. Silly string. There we go.
There you go.
That'd be more like it.
Wonderful. Yeah, I would say generational curses are much easier, and it's actually much easier to break the curse if you know what is cursed. Going through someone's home and trying to find out what article of furniture or heirloom or things of that nature isn't always as easy as it sounds to find out where the curse is affixed. So you can break that line.
Oh yeah, definitely not.
I mean, no. I know Tony had a case recently in Israel where he had to go in, but the article was actually easier to find because they knew what the article that was cursed was. Now, one thing we have to look at probably more in the future is trying to. There are people that are online that actually have stores and they sell cursed items. And people go in and buy them, knowing that they're cursed. I mean, how stupid can you get? But people do this.
That's
and then, it is. And then, well, I don't think we've actually had any cases where we've actually had to fix anything yet. But, even if the item's not cursed, they just claim it is. It's the psychological plant of the individual buying it that thinks, oh my God, I just bought a cursed urn. And, well, the mind expands on it. So now all of a sudden so now all of a sudden, even though it's not actually a cursed item, their mind thinks it is.
Yeah, that neat little placebo effect can work in a negative fashion.
Well, I think breaking a psychological tie is worse than a physical.
Yeah. Oh, heavens, yeah. A physical tie is child's play to break comparatively.
Right. Yeah. So let's see. We've talked jinn. How many actual demonic cases have we handled? Not the things that people say. Not the things that people say are demons, because not everything's a demon. Demons are actually rare. But how many truly demonic cases have we done in the last 2 months?
2, I think.
Really?
One was really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, people can share us out and keep the word out so people can get help from the correct people sooner. It makes a huge difference in the outcome of what we do. The sooner we're working on something. A lot of bad advice, and a lot of people are charging people. This particular case had a lot of people try to help. We got in on it just like 8 days before the person was deceased because of the mental effects on what happened. So we didn't, it was a little bit late for us to do. We got the demon, detached, but the person had basically, mentally was not able to grasp the fact that it was even gone. Like you said, breaking the mental aspect of it is a whole nother thing. And
right.
It just didn't work with this particular case, you know. I think we all learned a lot from that case. It's pretty shocking, you know, to you know, see that what it did to the person, you know, and that they eventually were not with us anymore because of it.
And that's where having a psychiatrist on board is going to help us a lot.
Yeah, I'm glad to have aftercare and a lot more training, you know, because our time, you know, it's really hard. It was really hard, but we gave it our best. But, you know, I feel like it's better just to have someone concentrating right on that. That's a great thing, you know, to me.
It is. It's amazing to be able to take a breath afterwards and be able to focus on the next thing. And it does give us a chance to kind of revamp a little bit and charge up for what our next case is going to be and how we need to approach it.
So, Trip's got a question, and either one can answer it, or even Keith can jump on this one. But can one trick a jinn into undoing their own curse on someone, like tricking them into a lamp?
I don't have that answer.
Well, technically the answer is yes, but here's the kicker to it. There's a neat little chap called Stephen Hawking. If you can trick him into making a mistake with mathematics, you can trick a jinn into getting into a lamp by accident.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Makes perfect sense. Yeah, you're not going to trick one. And they're an ancient race too, I believe, are they not?
Yeah, extremely. This is one of the. I mean, they deal with true magic.
Right. And they're not. And they're not alien, like some people. Some people do think the jinn are alien, but they are not.
Well, no, they're actually air elementals.
Okay, God, yeah, right. Yeah, because you know, and it all comes down to labels. Some entities that people are calling aliens aren't aliens; they're just an ancient race. That happens a lot. In fact, I believe one of our discussions we've had, Keith, was aren't some of the reptilians actually not actual aliens?
Yeah, like the Chitauri, and there's three other races that actually evolved from the dinosaurs. At the same time the dinosaurs were evolving into birds, there's three other races that are actually still on the planet that evolved from a dinosaur from the dinosaur root.
Okay. So, more of a pterodactyl.
No, but there is a bird, an avian race.
Okay.
Weren't reptilian to start with.
Gotcha.
Okay, so just FYI, Markham's back on the line now, so if you have a question, fire away.
Outstanding. Markham, I want you to go into last night, because I know last night you had your eyes wide open, listening to the client describing what was going on and seeing the astral doing what they were doing.
Yeah, that was a pretty unique circumstance. The woman was under attack, probably about 2 hours south of me from where I'm sitting right now. And I was on the phone with her and trying to talk her down because she was in, panic mode. She was kind of panicked. I don't blame her. And because of her for some background, this woman has tried to reach out to other groups, and she got threatened for it by her tormentors, and they also went after the group. So anything I was trying to get from her as far as like send me some pictures or give me some data, she was not wanting to do because she didn't want reprisals and for all she know, who the hell am I? Well, as I, and it's hard for me to switch gears. I'm not a naturally caring, or I guess because being an empath so long without realizing it, I've armored myself. So I have to make a conscious effort to drop down and, be compassionate, if you will. So as I'm talking to her and we're interacting, the astral team is starting to work with her. And she starts describing things that are happening, things she is seeing to me on the phone. And in the meantime, on Facebook Messenger, I'm starting to get the team's side of the story. And as I'm watching this go back and forth, I'm seeing the client corroborating what the team is saying. So yeah, spooky moment.
Oh, not so spooky. Actually, it's cool to see you get your feet wet as far as with clients, because that is going to be one of the areas you'll be working in, as well as the scientist aspect. And it makes total sense that you would be a little colder, because you're coming at things as a scientist. And like you told me, once you got out of the scientist mode and turned into the experiencer mode, you made more of a connection with her than you would have as a scientist.
Yeah, but right up until the time, though, I start seeing the conversation with the astral team starting to jibe with what this woman is saying. I still think I'm talking to a woman who's either... I'm thinking I'm speaking to a woman who is deeply troubled, but not necessarily by paranormal. My mind goes to, I deal with, well, not at this job as much because I don't have the patient contact, but in other jobs I have done in this field, I had a great deal of patient contact. Convincing somebody to let you stick a needle in their arm at 3 o'clock in the morning when they're slightly paranoid and delusional. Anyhow, it was, I'm thinking back from my clinical days what this woman's behavior is like. And I'm starting to build up a picture of a paranoid schizophrenic who's having a bad day. And I'm just trying to keep her, from doing something stupid. Trying to keep her engaged, trying to distract her, like I would somebody that was delusional. Well, then, like I said, what she's experiencing and what the team are doing are starting to sync up. At that point, I'm thinking, okay. I have this hardwired doubter inside of me. That's part of the problem. I'm having so much trouble getting the astral getting into the astral part. There's a part of me that's done it, that knows I've done it, and that I can do it. But there's that guardian at the gate that says, no, you're not getting past me. And I have to deal with that in all facets of my life. So no matter how many times I encounter somebody like this, I'm probably always going to be, at first, I'm going to have that wall up that says, paranoid, schizophrenic, delusion. I'm going to have the clinical aspect first. Over time, it will probably be easier to get past that. Plus, after having been initiated into Reiki,
depends on who you ask.
She was saying that she was getting very warm speaking to me, and I felt like I was getting drained. So I think she was pulling some energy out of me as well. I know I went straight home today and went straight to bed.
Oh, I haven't.
I didn't log into the computer. I kicked the cats out because I didn't want to be disturbed at all. And, toes up.
Well, it's better than being belly up.
Completely understandable with last night's case. And today it's an ongoing case. And yeah, many scenarios may be playing out on that one. So coming, and again, I completely understand, because coming from the scientist that's in you, and working with your first client, basically in aftercare.
While I'm at work.
You look for while you're at work, yeah. So do you look forward to more cases as aftercare?
I wish that had happened during the week when I was off.
Oh, I do too, because then you could actually done
I'd have had my butt on the way down to Charlotte, and I'll just so Corey Rees knows, I did order my trimeter. Did it last night. So I'm getting some gear together so that I can, up to now, what I have been more interested in, or what I've had the equipment to do, is on the ghost side or the cryptid side of things. Mm-hmm. As far as, EVP, picking them up on film, that kind of stuff. I didn't have a tri-field meter, some of the other dude, like a Mel meter or anything like that. I haven't put that, I don't have those tools in the toolbox. After last night, I realized that I'm going to have, at the very minimum, a tri-field and probably a couple other sensors that I'd like to be able to use in such a case. So I'm getting my toolkit started.
You'll need a FLIR and probably a Mel too.
The FLIR is going to. I'm not going to be doing a FLIR until I get a little bit more overtime, because the cheapest one of those I've found is $500.
I found them cheaper.
Well, send me the link. Because I'd love to have I want a FLIR. I really do, because I love the idea of being able to see that temperature gradient.
Get the Wish.com app for your phone.
The what?
The Wish.com app for your phone.
Oh, I don't have.
It's called Wish.
I don't have that. Wish?
Yeah.
No, if it's if it's PC or Android, I might be able to get it.
Yeah,
I don't have an Android device anymore.
You can get it on PC too, I believe.
Okay. Oh, that shows up on my. Okay, I think I know. I'll look into that.
Yeah, I saw them for a couple of $100.
Oh, if I find one for a couple $100, I'll have it bought tonight. But yeah, I'm trying to get that. I've got the old Sony, those bomb-proof Sonys that use the little 8mm cassettes that did Night Shot so well. I've got one of those, and I've got a pile of the little tapes. Got a nice JVC digital hard drive recorder for daylight, or low light but not completely dark conditions. It doesn't have Night Shot, but it has the advantage of having that hard disk drive that you can record for hours. Where the older gear, the Sony, you've got to pop a new, depending on the speed you choose, you're popping a new cassette in. Which the advantage to that, I believe there's an advantage to that. You stop, you drop the next cassette in, you're actively having to be there and monitor, and while you're filming the next one, that gives you a chance to go through, instead of just sitting there twiddling your thumbs, you can take that cassette you just shot and go through it, analyze it for evidence. So nice combination of old school and new school stuff, if new school is the right way to put it. modern.
And that's the best way is to combine old school and new school, because any tech can be manipulated by the paranormal. So old school is better on that regard.
Well, I think a lot of the old school stuff, because it was noisier. I think the reason I get the EVPs as well as I do is I'm using reel-to-reel. 3-inch reel-to-reel is a very noisy format. You have white noise that can be manipulated. The micro cassettes, they're kind of noisy. You've got a white noise that can be manipulated. The red standard cassettes, if I use normal bias, they have, I'm not using my chromium dioxides for EVP because I think that's too good a format.
Well,
at that point, there's no white noise if you use the metal 2 chromium dioxide. This is what at the height of the cassette era. These are the ones that you made your mixtapes on, or you had an album. Albums were getting so thin that you'd get one good play out of them. You disc wash them up real good, Z-stat them, record them onto a chromium dioxide tape, which was very long-lasting, fantastic fidelity. Not a lot of white noise. So I don't use those when I go to, I figure the next jump up from the standard bias tape, just go ahead, skip chromium dioxide, cassette, and go straight to digital.
Yeah, the old stuff uses, magnetic energy for its recording capabilities, which, to my opinion, would be much more easy for entities to manipulate, since they're working on an energy plane, than some of the other stuff.
Yeah, because it was never proven to my satisfaction that when you were catching, and I haven't really had a chance to look at it myself, and I'm not sure how I can prove it, where you weren't picking up EVP through the microphone on the old magnetic media. You were picking up, they were bypassing that altogether and going straight to the magnetic media.
Yep.
Which,
and that's because of the biomagnetics.
Yeah, and I don't know how I could prove that. Yes, I do. Duh. Don't put a microphone in. Jesus, sometimes I amaze myself at my own stupidity. Christ on a crutch.
Wondering how long that was going to take you there.
Well, I was thinking of the ones with built-ins. I was thinking of the ones that have a built-in mic. But my reel-to-reel deck is strictly, it's hard to find a cassette deck. You have to go way back to find one that doesn't have a built-in microphone.
Right.
From about the mid to late 60s onward, they all had a little condenser mic.
Yep.
But I can take one of those apart real easy and nip the wires on that condenser mic. In fact, I might do that today when I get home. If I got the energy, I'll take some of the little, some of my old school micro cassette decks. I'll take one of those and snip the mic out of it, and then make an array of micless, recorders and see what happens.
There you go. So I want to jump over to Chris and Brent, because I know Brent's not on the show, but I know he's listening. He's right next to Chris. So we have Chris, who's on the follow-up care team, and we have Brent, who's on the astral team. And how's that working out for you, Chris?
Very interesting, I'll say. Last night's case was pretty cool. I mean, it was tough. I talked to the client like an hour and a half before Eric did, and Brent's right here. And it was interesting for me to be doing, I usually do the aftercare, but last night I was kind of pulled in a little bit early, so I called it during care. And so I was talking to the client, and Brent was in the other room, So he was in combat while I was calming. So it was interesting. It was very challenging. I'm with you, Markham, about she was tough to keep. She kept bouncing around emotionally so much. She was hard to keep on a direct path. But then even after that, she knew that Brent was in astral, and she wanted verification of that. So it was kind of awesome that he came out of the room and said hi to her, on the phone. But it's awesome. I mean, Brent and I actually get along enough to where we could do this. And he was pretty psyched too, because he got to do things and see things in astral that he never would have imagined. And then he comes bragging to me like I know about astral. I'm like, oh, that's cool,
Just kept saying we'll never be able to get the ego down.
Oh, he was so psyched I couldn't even calm him down. I'm like, go to bed.
So real quick, and I know it's only your let's see, third aftercare case that I think you've handled. Run us through what you do on aftercare.
Okay, I'll kind of combine them because last night's was way off the chart. So usually when I'm pulled into the conversation with the client, I like to know as much as I can. And so that depends on the way that I proceed with information. So I will ask them if they've had other experiences, and that will tell me if I have to start from ground zero and go up, or if I have to do like refresher, because I'll talk to them if they know protection, if they know grounding. So I kind of go at it that way. And then just calmly talk to them, and you have to be very caring with them, very interested with them. It's a lot of psychological. You have to put yourself into, basically very, very caring with them, and you listen to them, and depending on which way they go is how you respond. And one client, I think it was the first one, he was more mellow than the second one, and then of course I get them completely calmed down, and if they need to know where to get any products for saging or anything like that, you give them the information, you run them through the instruction on how to do the protection on their own home. If they have any questions, then as much as I can answer. Usually by now I can answer pretty much, because somebody threw me into this, but we won't name names, Eric. But I think the biggest thing is you have to have a lot of compassion, and you have to listen. Those are the two important things. I mean, I can have notes up on how to instruct to do other things, but you've just got to really listen. If they're scared to death, you've got to be able to calm them down. And that's basically what I do. I'm there for them, and they let me know what they need. I don't tell them what to do in so many words. I respond to them and give them what they need and give them the tools that they need. And then I will usually contact them the next day, the following day, but I don't get off the phone with them until I ask them, do you feel like you're back in control? And once they say yes, then I can do the, let go of them on the communication that night and check on them the next day. And then I like to go back and I just checked on one client a week later just to see how things were going. So that's kind of what I do. I'm just there for them. Yeah.
Sounds good. And and aftercare is one of the keys. And like Corey said earlier in the show, we had to form a separate team because, you know, Astral's been working since 2012. And prior to us forming an aftercare team, Astral's been doing Astral and then doing the follow-up. And follow-up care folks can take from hours to sometimes days, depending on the level of the trauma this client's gone through. I mean, so Forest Moon as an emergency response team, most of the clients we get have been dealing with their issue for anywhere from months to years. And these are folks that have had clergy come in, they've had other teams come in, and not gotten the help they needed. What's amazing is, as the word spreads, we actually get referrals from other groups, from other teams, and what's sad is it has to come to this, because you would think, being in a paranormal field, there would be more teams that were more into helping the client than just getting that cool picture in that EVP, which, unfortunately, and the sad reality is, a lot of them are. If you call yourself a paranormal team, you should be a paranormal team. You should be there for the client, not just for your cool picture in the EVP.
You have to have the want. And like last night on that case, I was talking to the client, but I was also watching the Astral on the computer. And the awesome thing was, I noticed one of the Astral write something on the computer that they did, and I didn't say anything, and the client came right to me and said, "Oh, I feel better." That's strange. And so it was really neat, because I got to see.
Yeah, that was the same thing that was happening to me. I'm getting pretty much real time between what's going on with the team and the messaging, and what's, you know, and the client saying, "I'm seeing this." And well, that just happens to be somebody's astral warrior form, and you know, it was pretty cool. It was kind of interesting, to say the least.
It was awesome to see. We got to see firsthand how this team works. We got to see it, and that was something that it'll be in my mind, because it was neat to see. I mean, we don't know each other. Bonnie and Donna are from completely different states, and to be able to work with somebody like that, it's an honor, especially because those two are veterans. You know, they know what they're doing. I'm the newbie, and it's like, whoa. But got it done.
You did great.
Well, here's the thing. And with Markham, wait till you move here and you actually go boots on ground and actually see the tech side correlate with the astral. That's when your job's going to drop.
Well, that's when the researcher in me is going to have, you know, I'll just leave it as the researcher in me is going to be extremely happy. Like, hands from the waist down, like Elvis on the Ed Sullivan Show, happy.
I think, Cooper, when you were talking about the different types of cases, I think honestly one of the hardest ones was my second case with the child, 5-year-old child that was having a lot of issues, and it wasn't the child so much, but it was one female trying to calm down another female, and that was her child. So that mother instinct and protectiveness, that was really, really difficult to deal with. And I was talking to her for a while on the phone. Yeah,
and
it's the different types.
Right, and it's the the child cases that are the top tier of what we respond to. And that's why having a kid on our team is going to be a huge asset, because like we were talking about earlier, I think it was actually before the show, is, a child's going to open up more to another child than they will any adult. And having a child and having a child psychologist on the team, as well as the kid. I don't like calling her a child. She's 12. She's almost a teen. But having a kid on the team that's going to be able to relate to that child will definitely be an asset on all sides.
Yep. True. Yes, it'd be great to have that. How separate them from feeling so abnormal from everybody else. Like, when I was a kid, I always felt like I could talk to anybody and I wasn't like anybody else. I was really messed up strange. So it will bring that, that there's other people like this you can talk to because, today is probably way better back in the Ice Ages when I was a kid, but it's like still, kids know more about paranormal and different things than I did back then, but they need that camaraderie, somebody, that's like them that understands. If adults is one thing, but to have a child to be able to talk to the other kids and teenagers or whatever, I think it's going to make a huge difference too.
Right, right. And just to clarify, yes, we do have her guardian is actually on the team. So the kid that's on the team has full guardian parental. What am I looking for? Consent as far as being on the team. She volunteered for the team, knowing what she was getting into. Just wants to help people. Is a very old soul. And so, yeah, as far as the legalities of having a child on the team, we have full parental support. And I know we're getting close to the top of the hour, so I don't want to start a topic and have to break.
Yeah, we're getting pretty close to that time there. In fact, we probably could just go ahead and go off to break now. So when we come back from break, we will continue our monthly team show. Tonight on our panel, we have Eric Markham, our Forest Moon paranormal scientist, our Keith Andrews, astrologer and alien specialist for Forest Moon Paranormal, Donna Cunningham, one of our Astral team members, Bonnie Smith, another of our Astral team members, Chris Dodge of our Aftercare team. Myself, Corey Reese, and Eric Cooper, also of Forest Moon Paranormal. Join us every Saturday night at midnight Pacific Standard Time. You can find us on Spreaker.com, SpacedOutRadio.com, and The Fringe FM. Check out Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott Monday through Friday, Spaced Out Weekend with Joe Roop on Saturdays, and Elizabeth Anglin with Cosmic Passport on Sundays, all at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Also check out The Fringe FM with shows like Lighting the Void with Joe Roop, and a plethora of other good shows. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and I want you to come on a nightly journey. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, every Monday through Friday, you can come hang out with me and the other space travelers. We have it all from Carl the Alien bouncing on by to those misfit gnomes causing havoc. It's 3 hours of fun and entertainment on those topics the mainstream really doesn't want to touch. Come get all paranormal with us at SpacedOutRadio.com, and together, my friends, along with our resident guitar god Bumblefoot, we own the night.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
This is Eric Markham, news editor for the Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter Online. We have put together a great team of writers and journalists from all over the world to bring you top-quality paranormal stories, from alien encounters to the latest conspiracies. You won't find any of that fake news here. True stories and top-notch reporting as we look to bring these experiences to the mainstream. The Encounter Online, only at SpacedOutRadio.com.
Do you want to know the truth? Do UFOs exist? Are aliens real? Are the governments hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO seekers, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along with us as we journey across the United States, visiting UFO hotspots and alien hotspots, trying to document the UFO phenomenon. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
Have you had an experience you can't explain? Would you like someone you can trust to look into it? We have just the place. The SOR Sightlines Report is the place for you to find answers. Whether it's Bigfoot, UFOs, Dogman, ghosts, aliens, or anything strange, the Sightlines Report will get you connected with one of our expert researchers to find out what's going on. All of your personal information is kept 100% confidential. The SOR Sightlines Report, a place for you to find the answers you need. Only at spacedoutradio.com.
Welcome to Spaced Out Saturdays with me, Dave Cruz from Beyond the Strange. Our weekly feature on spacedoutradio.com will take you around the world discussing everything from the paranormal to the latest conspiracies from the top guests in their fields. We won't leave any story uncovered. Spaced Out Saturdays at spacedoutradio.com starting 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
It's Cosmic Sundays with me, Elizabeth Anglin, in Cosmic Passport. Let me take you down a 3-hour spiritual journey where we will get into everything from ET contact to Psychic Sundays. It's a journey of listening and learning together with some of the best professionals in their fields. You can tune in to Cosmic Passport at spacedoutradio.com every Sunday starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
The views and opinions expressed on tonight's show by tonight's hosts and guests are not necessarily those of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Saturdays, Spaced Out Sundays, or spacedoutradio.com. Listener discretion is advised. And now back for hour number 2, we have Corey Ruiz, Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal, and S4. You can find Forest Moon Paranormal on Facebook. And for more information on S4, visit spacedoutradio.com. And now, here's Eric Cooper and Corey Ruiz.
All right, welcome back, everyone. For those of you just joining us tonight, we are having our monthly team show. On our panel, we have Eric Markham, R. Keith Andrews, Donna Cunningham, Bonnie Smith, and Chris Dodge. Everyone, welcome back.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay, I want to switch up topics here real quick because during the break we were talking about alien implants. So, Keith, I want to bring you in on this one as far as how many implants are you aware of and what races are implanting?
You leaving?
Is Keith with us?
Hold on, let me check. It shows me still connected.
Okay. Okay, so Bonnie and Donna, let's talk implants. So what implants have we encountered on the team?
How many have we encountered in total?
What? No, okay. What locations on the body are we finding are the most common?
They're most common are, I'm finding them like in the neck and the nasal cavities, behind the ears, the back, the shoulder, the ankle area. Sometimes they're deeper in the pelvic area, stuff like that.
We had one case they were deep in the brain because we were afraid to deactivate that, not knowing exactly what. It was a different type. Remember that implant?
Yes, it was very, very deep.
Kind of afraid to mess with it too much because of the person has a very special ability we didn't want to cause any problem with, you know.
And we've actually talked about that particular implant on the show before. That's actually the hologram implant. I don't remember exactly which race was implanting that one, but that is a dimensional implant as far as information downloads and things of that nature. Again, I don't remember exactly which race was implanting that one. But there are several races that are doing implants. So for tracking, the recent case I know are we're doing shocks, actually shocking the individual. And Don is asking in the chat room, are we finding any implants in the knees?
I haven't necessarily found any exactly in the knees. I have found them in the thigh area before, but not necessarily in the knee.
Right. And Katrina wants to know about implants under the fingernails. That one I'm really not familiar with either. Have we found any under the fingernails?
I have found them in the hands, but not in the fingernails.
Right. Now, what would be great now, because I know Markham wanted to get to the location last night, because with implants, I know they've been picked up by radio frequency. I'm sure they'd be detected on EMF meter potentially, or even I would try a compass. If a compass goes erratic, you've got something. And yeah, they're usually a little deeper than surface, so there wouldn't be. You would want a surgeon to legally get them out as far as, because I know in astral. Go into real quick how you disable the implants from the astral.
To disable the implants from the astral, you go in and you locate it. We usually make an energy barrier around it and then just hit it with a very high burst of energy. And that will usually deactivate it completely.
Now, I know the problem with that is even though we can deactivate them, the aliens can reactivate them.
I've changed the way that they're deactivated as far as the way that the burst hits them, the energy level of it, and it actually kind of disintegrates a lot of them. So most of them are just completely unable to be reactivated if they had to be.
Okay, and Don's wanting to know, can we ask him to take the implant out? You can ask.
Hello?
Did we lose Coop? Did we lose me?
I did think as long as we second there. I don't know what happened. Technical difficulties.
The only way we're ever going to be able to legally extract implants is to find us a surgeon, a general surgeon, somebody who has the expertise, because you got to be able to do injectables, because you don't want to numb an area. You just don't want to go digging at somebody with a scalpel. Plus, you're opening yourself up for being sued for the scarring afterwards. I know with African Americans or people that have that lineage, some of my family, it runs into having keloid scars from the the most basic of incision. You end up with a scar that's just really horrible. So you dig somebody's implant out. Oh, I'm so grateful. 6 months later, they're suing your butt because they've got a keloid scar at the site. So yeah, before anything like that should even be, being a combat medic, hey, hats off to you. You're not, if you did it, if somebody who thought that would be their screen, they may have the practical knowledge, but without they would put them under a prison if they perform that kind of, that's performing medicine without a license, surgery without it would be a catalog, a true litany that they would hit that person with. And like I said, people's gratitude dissipates quickly. And I know from a lawyer, one of my professors in college was also a lawyer, and he said they are not concerned with, in a case like that, they are not concerned with truth. They are concerned with who has the deep pockets.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So
exactly, it's all about money.
So you open yourself up to a lot of being the target of a lot of horrible crap if you try doing something like that.
Okay, just to clarify, no, that was not a conspiracy what I dropped. I have about a 2-hour limit on the cell phone tower. So anytime we get to a 2-hour time period, the cell phone drops. Just to clarify that. And yeah, it's just ironic that we're talking about implants, and all of a sudden there goes Cooper. But yeah,
no,
we were talking for about.
I actually pay a federal government to cut your phone off every 2 hours.
Exactly. I figured.
Well, it's like they say, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they aren't watching you.
Right. So yeah, and you're absolutely right, Markham. As far as if you don't have that medical license, you don't dare even touch, other than getting verification that there is one, and they won't always show up in X-ray. Now, I think the greatest loss the paranormal or the UFO community had was when Dr. Lear died, and that was last year. And he was actually an alien implant surgeon. He actually removed hundreds, if not thousands, of implants. So there is documentation that implants exist. So have we found Keith yet?
Not so far, unfortunately. Excuse me. But I'm trying to raise him here.
Okay.
RKA, R. Keith Andrews, and technology. Never the twain should get along.
We get along
right.
fine. It tells me what it wants to do and then dies.
Oh, is he back?
Is.
Okay.
He's back.
Shh, quit talking about RKA.
So Keith, we're talking implants. Go ahead and go into what some of the implants are used for and which races that you're aware of are implanting.
Well, the Greys are the ones that do it the most, and they're usually using it. They usually use the implants for tracking biosignatures or the magnetic fields. Quite often on the quantum levels. They will put them, the more common places are right in the nasal cavity, right at the base of the neck. Quite often, I've heard of people having it actually stuck in the hand, although that's rare. But they use it for literally tracking everything from biomagnetic fields all the way to geographical locationing, as in tracking migration, if you will.
Okay. And for the listeners, and I know we've talked about it on the show before, but go into the hologram implant real quick, the one that's in the brain.
Oh, yeah, that's the one that's set up right next to the cerebral cortex, usually. Sometimes they will put it right in by the temple, and it depends on who's doing it, which side to do it on. But essentially, what it does is it generates a field that really covers up the fact it's there in the first place. But of course, that comes with its own problem, because that one is also used for subliminal communication. So you'll get the feeling you're communicating, but you won't necessarily actually communicate. Like, not from a verbal standpoint. But they also use that one to handle some of the, shall we say, some of the more complicated Terran languages. Let's face it, English is not that hard as far as pronunciation goes, but it can be a pain in the neck to learn.
Agreed. Agree. That's why they have English in college. So, where was I going here? Implants.
I had a question for Keith.
Go ahead.
Okay. Keith, you probably know, if not, then Astra would know. How big are these implants?
Oh, that varies, but you're usually looking about half the width of the baby pinky's fingernail, and not often that long.
Oh, yeah.
Right, they're real small. So I've got a hypothetical question for you, because I know we've got human hybrids. Is it possible that we have implants that are in them that keep their genetics from being hidden?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because that actually makes sense with a couple of cases we've got where we know the individual was abducted, was impregnated, and had a natural childbirth. And so essentially you've got a hybrid child. Who knows they are hybrids? Or in some cases don't, but know they are different. But, you know, if you go through a doctor and they do a blood test, things of that nature, they come, you know, it's not going to come up abnormal. So it makes sense if there's an implant that was causing that to happen.
Well, yeah. I mean, you got to remember, those little implants are of such a sophisticated nature. Using them to conceal the true nature is, well, politely put, child's play.
Mm-hmm.
And not like the movie.
No, not even a little bit.
Well, plus, let's not forget that the body's own defense mechanism against non-self is it tends to encapsulate something in calcium. And, you know, so they can use the body's own defenses to mask the presence of the implant.
Oh, absolutely.
It'll just become, you know, it's just this nodule of calcium. Now, do we have, what are they broadcasting on? They've got to be at a very extreme high frequency, I would think, to get past the tissue. Or are they doing, are they long wave, short wave? Where are they at in the spectrum, Keith?
Well, oddly enough, it's actually at a half wave, because they run it off cycle from your the standard sound waves that most technology picks up. These things don't run on that stable of a line.
Would be considered what we would think of as a subspace signal?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not something we're going to pick up with any kind of scanning device, as far as like what we'd use if you were analyzing shortwave radio or, you know, looking for radio emissions of any kind. They're actually beneath it's something that goes beneath our electromagnetic spectrum. It's a whole different type of physics.
More to the point goes beside it. let me ask you this, because this is where the technology really comes in. With a magnetic pulse, the pulse itself creates a shock wave in the atmosphere ahead of it.
Mhm.
Okay. Number one, does that make sense?
Well, I could see if you have if we look at the electromagnetic spectrum, I guess it's being able to think in multiple dimensions. Because if it's running beside or parallel to what we consider the electromagnetic spectrum, that means it must be it's got to be outside of our standard 4 dimensions that we think of.
No. Think of it this way. If you take a look at a motorboat, call that your magnetic pulse that you're used to picking up.
Okay.
When the motorboat goes through the water, it causes a shock wave in front of it as it hits the water.
Okay.
Right? The pulse you're looking for is that shock wave.
Mm.
So is that getting back, is that almost, for that to propagate, we're almost back to what they thought of at the early 20th century as the ether. So are we, maybe they dismissed the idea of the ether prematurely?
Yes.
Think of it this way, Markham. We'll go to sci-fi for a moment. And, you remember on all the Star Trek stuff, they'd always broadcast on a subspace frequency. Well, it was a frequency that would be able to travel long distances at a super high speed without really being detected by anything else. That's going to be kind of the same idea that we're talking about here with these things.
Oh, I get the concept. I'm just trying to figure out how. I guess it's the scientist in me trying to figure out how I'm going to build a detector for these things.
There you go. I figured that's where your scientific mind was going.
Well,
yeah.
So
like if it's broadcast, if there's a signal, there's a way to find it. There's a way to intercept it. There's a way to receive it.
There is. And
so I've just got to figure out what set of vibrations I'm looking for.
Satellite.
I can sort of show it to you. I can sort of show it to you. And as you well know, I'm not what you would call a trained scientist by any functional stretching of the imagination.
No, but you just know the crap. Right, yeah.
Well, basically, yeah. And I can show you what it is, and then you get to figure out how to find it. That was the
okay. Real quick,
Helix. I knew it was there. I just couldn't prove it.
Real quick for Keith, Katrina wants to know: does a person ever have medical issues from the implants?
Well, ever once in a very, very long time, but very seldom, because usually they're geared. The implant is usually geared to the biomagnetic field of the individual involved.
Mm-hmm.
Implants are keyed to a specific genetic.
And that's what's interesting, too, because, I've seen the videos when Dr. Lear was actually removing them, and they'd actually bring the tweezers close to the implant, and the implant would move on its own energy away from the tweezers. So essentially, the body's designed, anytime there's a foreign body, to reject it and remove it. But the thing with the implants is they are accepted into the body, and actually there's nerves and there's organic tissue that envelops it. So, yeah, medical issues I wouldn't see, but I wanted to hear your input on that.
Yeah, ultimately, that is what it boils down to. Again, it's because they're geared to that specific thing, that specific genetic signature.
Mm-hmm.
So are they doing something that causes the body to entangle? Because for the most part, when you get a foreign body in, the immune system surrounds it with, neutrophils and white cells, and then it becomes encapsulated, and then you get the calcium buildup. These things seem to be they seem to be using the tissue itself. Somehow it's almost like they're sending out tendrils or causing the surrounding tissue to form tendrils.
In a way, what it really translates into is the mechanism is built in such a way, and it's built, well, quite frankly, using biomagnetics and biomechanics. But it's keyed to the cell structure so that the moment, it's kind of like, the way I envision it, if you're trying to take somebody's blood and you go to put a needle in, that vein will roll out of the way. Okay. That's why it takes a very well-trained person to take blood, is because that vein moves. Well, these things are a little bit more active. They're almost self-determinant as far as the technology to keep them protected or keep them mobile goes. And you'll find
So if they're geared to a person's genetics, so the body is not recognizing them as non-self.
That's right. It's
more like they form. It's almost like when a woman has adhesions in the uterus, and I can't think of what the name of that is for the life of me right now, but the implant acts as self, and you get the adhesions. The body just sort of makes adhesions around them.
Yes.
Right.
And what's that thing? Oh, not
Everybody.
fibroids, but there's endometriosis, where you actually start having. Yeah. So that's how these things they form. They have a sort of an endometriosis, or they cause the dermal layers to surround them, but as self and not as a foreign. So that's why. Okay. That kind of makes sense.
Ultimately, yes.
And on that, bear in mind that, most abductees, many abductees are actually generational. Whereas, you talk to abductees, and 9 out of 10 of them, probably their parents and the grandparents and the great-grandparents all have similar experiences or similar stories. So it's not a large stretch to know, the aliens have their genetic makeup on that, the DNA factor because of that.
Well, exactly. I mean, they've already got the track record for it.
Right. Because, I do get asked the question, you got people that you start talking to aliens and UFOs, they get scared about being abducted. And I explain to them, well, if you haven't been abducted now, you're probably not going to get abducted, because usually it is generational. There is the rare case where they will take a random person, but very, very seldom. There's got to be some kind of a history there usually.
Yeah, and that's very much the case. I mean, unfortunately, people can worry about, and do worry about, pretty much whatever's available. And the thing that people have to realize is not everybody gets taken. Okay, the ones that confuse me are the ones that go, but I want to get abducted. And I'm like, really?
And those are the ones that tell, be careful what you wish for.
Well, yeah, especially when they tell you they don't care what abducts them, they just want to have an experience.
Right. And so many. I think I made the comment today to somebody, as a matter of fact, that somebody didn't believe in demons, and I pretty much told them, if you haven't had an experience, consider yourself lucky, because the ones that have these experiences are the ones we deal with, and it's not pleasant. So consider your boring life a blessing.
Yeah,
really? Literally.
You know, anybody that's that's had that kind of experience will tell you it's not something you would look forward to.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
And that was the same person that was basically trying to troll somebody who had a valid question, and I gave him the boot.
The person with the valid question, the person trying to troll.
Troll.
No, the valid question was a great question, and a former client that we helped, and he had further questions about other issues, not even with himself, but just in general. And yeah, we do get trolls occasionally, and they don't last long. They're gone because we don't have time for trolls. And frankly, we take the safety and security of anyone in the Forest Moon group highly serious. So when it comes to people that are just there to debunk or just there to harass or troll, they don't last in the group very long. That's why we have moderators to handle things when we're not always around.
Well, and it wasn't like I didn't give him, 3-4 chances to, just kick back and knock it off, and he didn't want to, so I said, all right, bye-bye.
Yep.
Right. And
so Keith,
honestly... No, go ahead.
Oh, Keith, you said mostly the Greys are the ones that are doing the implants, so there are other ones that do some also?
Oh, absolutely. You got to understand, every race has its own set of scientists. Okay, and implants are by far and large the best way of tracking what humans are up to. Okay, so I mean, you name the race, they likely have them. Some of the, if they're doing it at all. Some races don't bother, but you take a look at the amoeboids, for instance. Sure, they will use implants, but there is not a snowball's prayer on this planet you'll ever find them. Okay, because they literally build them out of the individual person's genetics right on the spot.
Wow.
Yeah. So how many other races are actually doing, and I know we've talked, there's 16 documented races that do abductions. There's many more than that, but only 16 documented that we know of. Are they all doing implants?
No, many of them, number one, don't have the effective technology to do it. Just because they come from, light years away does not mean they've got the best technology on the planet. But most of the abductions that are being done, the individuals involved have a different way of tracking. Okay, one of the obvious ways, well, obvious from my standpoint, is they literally take a biomagnetic flux photograph, if you will, to be able to pin down, because it's a subatomic photograph, to be able to pin down where you are on the planet. Saves a whole lot of hassles as far as the implant side of things goes. And then they just collect the person up and do real-time data collection.
Now, okay, we were talking earlier before the show about humans that work with aliens as far as selling information. Go into that real quick.
Well, just like there are some humans that are not exactly of the nicest caliber, there are some aliens that are of the same line. Now, the two most common ones that humans will work with in that capacity, there are what I call the dark grays, meaning They are Greys, they are scientists, but they are the type of scientists that will sell their information to the highest bidder.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they will do whatever they have to. The other ones that will absolutely work with humans are the Tormenon, and they are quite literally reptilian mercenaries. Okay, they make their entire existence based on transferring goods from one race to another. The drawback there is you have to know what to pay them. And considering they're carnivores and they don't really use human dollars very well, can you picture what they're actually using?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
But those are the two most common that you'll get, because when you take a look at the Ant folk, they're not going to deal with humans. Okay, you try and make a deal with them, and they will encapsulate you and put you on cold storage.
Okay, and Paris is coming up with another question. Are the abductors also involved in intergalactic planetary battle, or what are they fighting over?
Well, there's 3 battles going on in this sector that I'm aware of. One is striving to stop anybody from trying to take dominant control of Earth, because the humans are the ones that are they are the ones charged with taking care of the place. Then you've got the battle between the Strazazians and the Techs, which is a dual reptilian battle. And then, of course, you have the Techlex, who happen to be in the middle of a civil war. Needless to say, they are an aggressive race.
Now, where's the consortium in all this?
Right smack in the middle of it. The consortium is not interested in the individual politics. Okay, in other words, with the Strazazians and the Techs in a combat with each other, as long as what they're doing is not causing damage to an occupied planet, they don't care. It's not they don't care, but that's up to you guys. Essentially they look at it and go, okay, that's up to you guys, do what you will. As long as you're not causing a problem for the continuity of the multiverse, they're left alone. And much the same reasoning, they don't step in to stop the civil war of the Techs, they also won't stop in to stop the petty squabbles that humans are going through.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, obviously the fights that are going on Earth, to humans, is a pretty big deal. Okay.
Now, I also want to jump into, because I get asked this all the time, or I see this comment all the time about, we got to get ready for the alien invasion, and there's not going to be an alien invasion. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, twofold. One, if there was going to be an alien invasion, it would be over before mankind ever knew it started. Two, if there was going to be an alien invasion, we wouldn't be having the discussion of, are we alone? Because it'd be standing on everybody's doorstep going, by the way, we own the place. Or everybody would be dead.
Right.
The reality is that people think in terms, and understandably, but they think like humans. Okay, if we're going to take it, we're going to do it. And there's apparently rules of war. With the off-worlders, the rule of war is very simple. If you're conquering a planet, get it over with so you can have lunch. Okay. I mean, for an off-world, just in simplistic terms, for an off-world race to take out this planet, one planetary EMP pulse, and the fight's over.
Right.
Okay. I mean, it's just that simple. Right. if they wanted one sonic impact, they could kill every living thing on the planet in one shot. So this is what I mean when I hear people worrying about the off-worlders invading. Even if they're going to do it on the ground, satellite communication would go first before they even bridged the atmosphere. So
Right.
we're worrying about something that there really is no functional reason to worry about. Unless you got nothing better to do, and then what the heck? But no. An alien, it's not even on the consortium's agenda. Granted, the techs were looking at stripping the planet when they first found out about it. Even more so when they found out that the flavor of humans was actually pretty good. And yes, it actually does change depending on the color of the skin. But,
It's like pork.
we taste like chicken to them.
No, you don't.
We say porcine. Well, one of the things that gets me, if you go back into early mythologies, the jinn were the first people of Earth. And part of the reason that they don't like humans is because they were created by the same God that created us. And that God said, okay, I'm going to turn these the talking monkeys are going to take over now. And in obedience to the God that made us, the jinn are like, yeah, we'll do this, but you can shove your talking monkeys up your butt. They weren't happy about it. They look on us as usurpers, but they can't really, it's like, well, we were told. So do these, they don't like it when, the jinn don't like it when we humans start screwing with the planet. How do they feel about off-worlders?
Well, about the same way, which is why if you've got an off-worlder that's cutting through the atmosphere and causing a problem, the funny thing with jinn is they can actually stop an interstellar drive. Okay.
I know what my first wish is going to be.
Yeah. We're not talking about a slow malfunction. We're talking about a cessation of spark.
Kind of like a car hitting a brick wall at 60 miles an hour.
Yeah. A brick wall.
You shall not pass.
So is that some of what you see in the sky for maybe heat lightning that's really not heat lightning?
Yes. Quite often you see it's neat if you watch sheet lightning that all of a sudden for one reason or another just stops. More often than not, that's what it is. Is somebody decided to solidify a mass of air right in front of something.
Now, I want to jump topics real quick because, there's a lot of discussion on Facebook and the internet in general about some of the pictures of the meteor strike that hit Michigan, I believe it was. And if you look at the pictures, and I know we've talked about this on SOAR as well as on S4, but it looks like a bolt that comes out of the clouds and then straight fire. What was that?
They missed their target.
Who?
Well, that, quite honestly, is a bit up for grabs, but the reason they don't find any evidence aside from a mess on the ground is because there's nothing solid to find. Okay, you're basically looking at a plasma field.
Okay.
Okay, you take a superheated chunk of atmosphere and you fire it through the atmosphere, it's going to do all sorts of really bizarre things to the surrounding area. But when the dust settles, you got nothing left. you've got no residual energy to speak of, simply because mankind's technology has not evolved to that point.
And it's an amazing picture. I mean, I didn't even know there was a meteor strike, but just looking at the picture, I was, it looked like an EM pulse to me.
And ultimately, that's what it would be. Now, of course, the problem I run into is trying to figure out in human terms what terminology fits where. I can tell you what they do is they basically, if you look at an atom, people figure there's two parts to the center of it, which is your proton and your neutron. Okay.
Right.
But there's a null part in there, a null particle that is equally as important in holding it all together. And it's that part of the energy that they're solidifying. But mankind the technology has not evolved to the point where they can track it just yet. Net result, you're not going to pick up the residual energy fields. You're going to be left looking at a mess on the ground and no functional way of
quantifying
what you're seeing.
Right.
See, when I looked at that, when I looked at that, it looked like a plasma blast. So, my question is was it EM, which would be electromagnetic, or was it plasma?
Well, quite frankly, not having seen it, I can't really tell you, but what I can tell you is both weapons exist. And both will cut through. The difference is an EM will not stop on the ground unless it's designed to, and a plasma will. Okay, and this is why I tell people, Terran technology in a war against the Offworlders is, well, I believe the term is kind of like throwing a pebble at a tank.
Makes sense to me. But if I remember right, and I can't remember the exact wording, but there were people that actually heard a boom, and then there was a 2.8 earthquake.
That would be a plasma impact. Because an electromagnetic pulse wouldn't cause the earthquake in the first place, never mind the boom.
Mm-hmm.
If it were electromagnetic, you'd be getting more of a static discharge.
Okay.
Okay. The other thing that leads me to believe that it's likely plasma is because the magnetic pulse at that level would, quite frankly, kill anything in the neighborhood. So you would have automatically bodies, but they wouldn't be bodies that were fried. They'd be bodies that just quit.
And I don't think somebody help me out here, because I know I'm not the only one who read the article, but I don't think there were any deaths related to that.
No.
Yeah, which again leads me to believe that you're dealing with a plasma bolt.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it looks like in all the
ion
pictures. All the pictures, it looks like a particle beam weapon of some kind. It doesn't look like a meteor hitting the ground. I don't care who says what. It looks like the classical, depiction, or the idea of what a particle beam looks like when it hits something.
Yeah, and in all likelihood, it is. I mean, the ion drive discharge, if focused correctly, will make one heck of a mess and leave nothing but a quick static overlay, and that'll dissipate within minutes.
So you think was there something there that they were, that isn't there anymore, so to speak? That
extremely high probability.
It's like the cosmic bug zapper got whatever it was.
Well, it either got it or missed it and the thing left. You know?
And Triffin's in saying he has friends in Michigan that can't figure out why so many people are coming up with theories because it was a meteor. It did, going by the pictures, it didn't look like any meteor I've ever seen. Not that I've seen a whole bunch of meteors, but it didn't look right. That's just my opinion. Also, Paris is wanting to know what are the waves that are visible in the sky about.
Well, quite frankly, that could be just about anything. And the reason I say that is that color has texture and density, as well as smell. So does sound. Depending on how your eyes are working, in Paris's case, she may have one of these neat little abilities of being able to see the actual energy wave of of the air currents. Okay, so I mean, there are so many possibilities as to what we're working on, or what we're referring to. Sadly, I can't give you a definitive answer as to what those specific ones would be.
Right. All right, so we're coming up on the last 10 minutes, or actually last 7 minutes or so of the show. And I want to thank everyone on the panel for being on the show. Awesome show tonight. What are our projections? I know it's impossible to come up with projections of this team, but what do you think? We're only in the first month of 2018, and we've already been slammed with, like, oh God, I can't even count how many cases we've done. But what do you see coming up for next month? Keith, you got any ideas about aliens interaction for February?
Well, from your guys' standpoint, you may as well brace yourself. This is going to be a bumper year for you.
Great.
This is only just picture, if you will, getting started on a race, and you haven't even hit the first corner. Because it's not so much that things are increasing. Well, part of it is because of what's going on. From a global standpoint, there is a lot more happening in the way of the research on the off-world standpoint because of the impact on the subquantum levels that they're looking at tracking to see what society on its current evolutionary path is going through. I mean, mankind has reached a point where it is at that breaking point. It's either going to flourish or it's going to burn. And this is a very exciting time from xenosociology. I mean, it's an incredibly exciting time from that standpoint. I'm sure Eric can, that Markham can relate to that kind of excitement.
Oh, well, Markham is trying to get his butt on the Astral team because there's a lot of, Markham's carrying around a lot of pent-up aggression that it would probably come in handy if channeled correctly.
Right.
You can have a riot.
Yeah, Markham's kind of hoping he can get out there and administer the cosmic baseball bat of doom on occasion. Last night would have been a great opportunity.
Hours of it.
Yeah, because there's certain protocols that we got to work on embracing for this influx. Because I mean, the case we're currently working on is just so complex that and it's going to set a precedence for some future cases that I know we'll be dealing with. There's a lot of things intertwined with this one.
It's a real good thing you brought this kid on, but she is going to be overworked. And you're going to have to forgive me for referring to her as just kid instead of her name, because I forget her name. No offense intended.
Chris.
Yeah, but, it would be really handy having a few more people like her, because it is the kids that are going to start waking up that are going to need the guidance.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. And she's unique on this team in that prior to her, and still it's still a protocol. We don't take team members under 18. But Izzy and I have known her grandmother for quite a few years, and personally, not just a Facebook friend or something like that, but because she's a local, and she's been with Forest Moon since close to the beginning. So it's not like a random granddaughter that we're bringing into the team. We know the family, which is why she's unique, and which is why on a legal level we have full guardianship permission. So it's exciting times on that note that we have a kid able to do the job she's going to be doing when it comes to kids involved in the paranormal. So yeah, I agree. She's going to be. Hopefully, she doesn't realize she's probably bitten off more than she can chew.
She's
on that level.
Well, she's one of these very rare kids that I actually hope I manage to get to meet one day.
You will at Paracon.
Yeah, I'll be at Paracon this year.
Right, and you'll meet her at Paracon.
Oh, okay. Oh. Yeah, because I went through what she's going through now.
Exactly, and like I said, she is local, so she will be working global cases as far as on the phone with kids and then boots on ground. Again, she'll stay on the truck or with her guardian until we have the situation handled, safe, to where she can come in and do aftercare with the child. But, yeah, so, we are actually setting precedents, coming in, jumping in both feet, so to speak, into 2018 with an aftercare team, a psychiatric team, and now a child. So we're definitely going full bore.
Now you need
as far as the team goes.
And a cat.
Well, actually, we could have used an animal. We could have used an animal psychologist here a couple of weeks ago with a cat case that we had, which was being attacked by the Fey realm. So that was actually a case that we didn't talk about tonight.
Pictures. Yeah,
no, that was a video. The video. And so, the only other thing we're lacking would be an animal psychologist for aftercare, but not going to worry about that right now. It's humans we worry about. Technically
one
speaking.
step at a time, eh?
Exactly. So I know we're 3 minutes out. It's about time to wrap up the show. Any last comments? And I know next week we are talking demons. If they aren't demons, what are people seeing? So that'll be the topic for next week. Training for February is going to be, I'm looking at my list here, we're doing occult symbology for our next training, and that will be at the Burlington Library, February 24th. And then you get into why does the paranormal need to worry about occult symbology? Well, we'll discuss that at a later time. That's a no-brainer. So any last comments, team?
Well, from my standpoint, you got to work together. Even the laymen that don't know what they're dealing with, you got to open up to your neighbor, because that's how you learn to cope. In any situation, the neighbors are the people that you cope with to start with, until you can get a hold of somebody along the caliber of Forest Moon, where you've got people that are trained to deal with the thing.
Right. It's an ever learning field. Every day we learn something new. Absolutely. Constant.
And that's the thing. That is the thing is, you have to come into the paranormal field with an open mind. You have to come into the field knowing you don't know everything, and you have to learn from experience and adapt so you're better for the next case. That's the bottom line. So, Corey, go ahead and take us home.
Okay. I would like to thank our panel tonight, Eric Markham, our FMP scientist, R. Keith Andrews, astrologer and alien specialist for Forest Moon Paranormal, Donna Cunningham, our astral team, Bonnie Smith on our astral team, Chris Dodge on our aftercare team. Join us next Saturday at midnight Pacific Standard Time. As Mr. Cooper said, we are going to be talking, are demons real? And if not, what are people seeing? You can find us on Spreaker.com, SpacedOutRadio.com, and The Fringe FM. I would like to thank all of our listeners because without you, there is no S4. Good night, and remember, keep your eyes to the skies.